Welcome to WestWorld Chat. We're all here today, and we had the second episode of season 3, The Winter Line. And what did you guys think of the episode?
I mean, speaking for me, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. It was more, adventure. There's not a lot too terribly much to unpack, but it had a lot of things I really liked it.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this last week, that we had a feeling that this season they would go more character-centric, siloed episode by episode. So this was obviously the Maeve episode.
Right.
And they really let the actress, show her chops. So.
Well, I thought she did a fantastic job. I mean, she was...
She was great. I don't want to skip ahead. I don't want to bury the lead, but let's get it out of the way. You guys saw the Game of Thrones,
Yep.
Yes. Cameo, right? Okay.
I wrote Game of Thrones world.
Yeah. I mean, let's just, talk about it while it's there. I can't believe they put the dragon in there.
I liked it.
And they were dismantling it, talking about going to somewhere in Costa Rica.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's Jurassic Park or whatever.
So Game of Thrones was just part of a WestWorld type thing. It was
the whole thing.
So who's to blame for it? Because I know a lot of people didn't like the ending of Game of Thrones. We're getting off topic here, but was Lee Sizemore the reason Game of Thrones had a bad ending?
I mean, at this point in time, we have to ultimately assume it was Serac, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's blame him.
Since he and his cohorts are the ones that wrote that simulation. Wait. Let me take a. No. I stand corrected because now I got caught in this because we have two versions of the WestWorld, right?
Right.
And that happened in the buddy cop storyline of Bernard and Stubbs, right?
Yes.
I would totally watch that movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we can blame Jay Sizemore for that. You're right.
Jay Sizemore. Oh God. I even think, I didn't rewind it, but I even think while Stubbs was doing that fight, which I'm sure we'll get to, which was great, that they switched back to the medieval king and queen, and the mandolin player is actually playing the Game of Thrones theme for a second. I really think I heard that.
I thought he was playing WestWorld theme.
I think he's playing the WestWorld theme, but we can double check that.
I'm probably totally wrong.
I could be wrong, but I thought it was the WestWorld.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if it was Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And maybe it was. I don't know, but like I said, it was a. We didn't get any of Dolores.
Yeah.
And nothing of
Caleb.
Caleb. We didn't get any of Caleb, so it was kind of a.
And still no Ed Harris.
Yeah. Still no Ed Harris. Jim says Sizemore is your favorite character. When I first saw him, I go, he's alive? Come on.
I bought in completely. I was totally ready for it. I was so happy to see him back. I was so excited and equally as devastated when I realized that he was a simulation.
Well, you don't get shot 6 times and survive.
When they showed the reaction from the techs when she's getting repaired and there's really nothing there.
From Felix and...
and that's when I knew that there was something hinky, in the sense that either all of them were always hosts or something else. They ended up being something else. I mean, the irony, of course, Jack, is that this version of WestWorld, we'll call it the Insight version of WestWorld, right? Is the version that we thought WestWorld was to begin with, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Totally simulation all the way. Yeah, because I was thinking during the first one, because I'm taking all these notes, and I'm like, did she stuff a cyanide pill into a guest eye?
Yep.
Because that was the realization of my dream was the guy who wanted to sign up for WestWorld wanted to be a Nazi and wanted to be a guard on a tower for some reason, and that she just cyanided a guy's eye.
And by the way, we should have figured out earlier that was a simulation simply by the fact that it seemed like there were none of the other characters in Nazi world looked like they were actual guests.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was trying to figure out. And I was trying to figure out if if she knew, but Hector didn't know, and then that turned out to be the case. Because they really made it seem like they tried to fool you, like Hector like knew that he was breaking Maeve out of WestWorld.
Well, yeah. What I was when they were escaping, and the Germans have the townspeople surrounded. They're saying, "Tell us what we need to know, or we're going to kill you." They were able to just walk behind them without anyone turning around. I said, "Well, they got to be hosts, because this has got to be some kind of simulation going on."
Yep.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, trying to figure out who was the guest. Did you guys do any research to figure out what the winter line was?
No, I did not.
I did. You want to know?
I want to know now.
Wait, is it winter line or winter lion?
A winter line.
Line.
Okay.
Line. I looked it up. The Winter Line was a series of 3 lines constructed during World War II designed to defend a western section of Italy focused around the town of Monte Cassino. The Battle of Monte Cassino was a costly series of assaults by the Allies against the Winter Line in Italy held by Axis forces during World War II. The intention was to break through to Rome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's this odd part towards the end of World War II history where I think the Italians they'd already revolted against Mussolini, but the Germans sent like a bunch of tough battalions there, and the Americans had a hard time breaking through. So,
and I guess they called it that because the after show was all about how hard it was to shoot that stuff. But that's the crazy Matrix scene at the end was crazy. That was awesome. That still shot where they. Yeah.
We'll where they're shooting each other.
Or they're shooting each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's kind of. I did like the fact that. So I mean that guy last week who's like the spare in the Insight family royalty, right? The guy was like, "What is this simulation?" Of course, his kind of throwaway comment kind of came true here, right?
Right.
So in the sense that Maeve was in this simulation, but I did like from a programming background. So like I do like it when these shows that deal with like highly technical issues at least try to do something that isn't just like technobabble but does have some relevance. And what she ended up doing, or what they had Maeve do as a character to overload the memory of the system, was basically throw out all these commands that would force like the processor to just basically overload itself. Like to use up the memory of the simulation, right?
Right.
And the most classic example is when you try to have it calculate the square root of -1. And that can actually like cause old computers like to basically just overload, right? So you could see like she was doing that in more and more progressive manners to create such a like buffer overflow that the outside simulation was using up so much memory that it would allow her to do stuff undetected. So
which she was able to do.
Which she was able to do. So that whole series, the way that was written, was pretty convincing from a technological standpoint, and kudos to them for doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good, like, what you expect from WestWorld episode, like at every turn. So, I mean, yeah. Thought it was awesome.
So, like Jim in the chat says, Stubb is a host.
Of course.
Well, I really love the fact that he's back and that he's going to be more part of it now. I mean,
right.
And we got the fulfillment of all my Stubbs fantasies in this episode, right? Like it's like waiting 19 movies to see Wolverine act like he does in Logan. It's like, it's the Stubbs I wanted. It's him rampaging with an axe. It's him just killing, but also having, letting the humans live, but then just raging on them with the axe and going ham, as the kids say on them. I
think he knew. I think he knew that one human. I don't think he knew the other ones, right? That's why he was able to kill them. Maybe.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was just trying to if he still values human life on some level.
Wait, I don't remember. He actually killed one of the QA guys?
I thought he with the.
No, I think he just. the first two guys he kind of knocked out, and one of the guys he told him to run. And then when the group of them came, he basically knocked down the first two, and then the other four behind got scared. And he's chasing them down with the axe.
So he didn't kill him. Okay.
Yeah, he got the axe instead of, because he could have just used their gun.
Yeah.
Right.
So he just chased them down. So he's pulling the Terminator 2. You can't kill anybody, but you can dismember thousands.
No, I mean, I thought that was good because, I mean, he was gone most of last season. And in the first season, he's just kind of like standing in the corner. And once in a while. And it's funny because in the first season, it feels like there are only 5 people working at WestWorld. Then in the second season, they, like, over a couple of episodes, they kill about 100, right? And now they're talking about, like, oh yeah, the people who are here are just kind of waiting to collect their paycheck before they get fired, right?
It's a job, right? You got to have a job.
I mean, it really did remind me of like the old Circuit City, a la 2008. Before it was liquidated. Like, you could see like the offices were half empty, and as obviously that scene we already touched on where they're going to chop up the dragon to send it to Costa Rica, right?
Well, but like how many circuit cities have you been to like that are other things now, but they were circuit cities because of the big plug, the big red plug?
Of course.
I've been to medical centers, I've been to guitar stores, all over the cities.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, digression.
But how quickly, Jack, did you figure out that there were 2 Westworlds?
It took me a while.
Yeah,
it took me a while. Like, so there was so much going on, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, it was like, oh, he's alive. He can't be alive. And then there's a lot of misdirection, I think, in this episode. But I enjoyed. At the end, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I obviously can't wait for next week because you're gonna. What's going on with Maeve and Dolores? Are they going to have that ultimate showdown? I think they end up working together.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there was some reference to that in the previews, but yeah, they did a better job of hiding the 2 storylines. And what's actually interesting is that it's probably Maeve who figures it out first. Right. Where she's like. I mean, actually, where I first got an inkling of it, besides the fact that, I knew Sizemore, that didn't make any sense. But, the way that they were talking about, like, her daughter, right?
Yeah.
And it was like Maeve's entire sacrifice was to make sure that her daughter would get away, right?
Right.
And it was like she was okay with that. So it was kind of seemed weird to me that, like, she was chasing the daughter storyline again. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think she even knew about the Forge, right?
No. I mean,
I don't think so. No,
she was trying to get to the Valley Beyond or that special place, but she, it wasn't the Forge per se.
So, I mean, that was at that point in time as she's starting to realize that it's simulation. Obviously, at the end of this episode, we realize that simulation. 2 things come to mind with Serac, right? Number one, he was obviously trying to figure out if any of the hosts. That it seems like, I mean, it really does seem like he purchased all the brain CPUs of all the hosts, right?
Right.
Memory control units, right? Because he's got them all on a rack there, almost like a server farm, right?
Right.
Is that he's trying to figure out which one of these hosts know about the Forge, right? So probably going just in a sequence, trying to figure out. But the other thing I get the feeling is that he set up the simulation in such a way to figure out which one of the hosts, the memory control units of the hosts that he stole, is the strongest. So the whole simulation in many ways is a Darwinian exercise to see which one of the hosts can figure out that they're in the simulation and has enough like willpower to break out.
Well, I mean, so in the morning he found out that Dolores was a problem because, there's a bloodbath, right? And people are dead everywhere under the tunnel.
Yeah.
And she's gone. And in the evening they find out that Dave is the strongest because the drone breaks out. right? Kind of is what he
Kind
said.
of. Right.
So within like an 8-hour span, he figured out who his two chess pieces are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Bernard's story. Now Bernard goes back to WestWorld, and he wants to stop Dolores. So he wants to stop Dolores also. Does he really want to stop Dolores?
He's not exactly sure why.
No.
He's still trying to figure it out. He's pretty straightforward about that.
Well, what I really liked about this episode was you take everything that was not great about season 2 and they kind of condensed it into one episode. So at the end, all the simulation, virtual reality, all the stuff you would have questions about, it's fairly straightforward and you know where you are at the end of the episode. It's
Right.
like they gave you all the Westworldness that people would want in condensed into one single episode. Yeah, I mean that's it. You're right. Yep. You're right, Eckhart. There's not a lot to talk about here.
It's when they were when in the first loop of Insight Westworld, where Maeve is talks to Sizemore, wakes up in the offices or whatever they call where they reconstruct them, and talks about finding her daughter in the forge. I was like, oh, we got to do this again. Like, I thought we moved on from this, right? And in many ways, it might have been. I mean, it was a redirect, and in retrospect, it worked pretty well given where the story ended up at the end of the episode, right?
Anyway, go ahead.
So go ahead, Ethan.
No, I just want to know why she was getting mad at fake Lee for having fake schematics of her and not a simulated bust of her. And she was giving him all sorts of. She slapped him in the face. She slapped simulated Lee.
Well, because she slapped him because
he made a pass. Kind of.
He made a pass. He made a pass at her.
Yeah, he made a physical pass at her.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
I think that's when she figured out it wasn't real Lee, right?
No, this was after.
Was it after?
Yeah, because I've thought for a second they fooled you into thinking that Lee was like a host hybrid, and he was failing the fidelity test with all of his stuttering and everything, and then everything started to wobble around him.
Right.
Like, not real. So that was afterwards when they started to mess with the hosts and mess with like the fake personality people that gave him the math problem.
Yeah, I think she was probably still pissed off about the fact that the fake Lee, like, who's taking a while to realize that he was fake.
Yeah, it's taking too long. Even simulated Lee is dim and slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she remember. She said that. Yeah, she said they didn't put you with a lot of basically brains or smarts.
Right.
Yeah, I did like that. That was funny. Yeah, but overall, I thought it was a really, really good episode. But like you said, there's not a lot to dissect here.
Yeah,
there's not a lot to go, theorizing about, I guess.
Well, yeah, because like I said, they wrapped it up. They gave you the package,
right,
of all the Westworld stuff. I think Ed Harris is probably going to come in almost like a Deus Ex Machina or whatever they say. I don't know how that word works, but I think we're not going to. I don't think we're going to see him for another couple episodes. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's basically gonna. I have a feeling that you give him the same slot that they give to
Dr. Manhattan.
That, or I was thinking more in terms of Leftovers. And apologize, I forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays the priest who always gets his own episode.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Matt Jameson. He's in the third episode, the fifth episode. The third episode, the fifth episode, and then the fifth episode again.
Yeah, because they're going to give Ed Harris the proper, respect in terms of being able to work out that full episode.
Is Ed Harris going to be real when we see him? Is he going to be real, or is he going to be?
I think they're going to do a good job of like doing a lot of misdirection in terms of like different timelines, different places, and I think they look from what I saw today. they did a good job of annoying me for the first 10 minutes and then reeling me in for the rest of the episode, right? So they're getting, you know what it is, Ethan? They must have, like, between season 2 and season 3, they must have called up Damon Lindelof and said, "Mr. Lindelof, please teach us how to do your thing."
Well, and then he said, "Do the thing you do the best, but do it for one episode. Don't stretch it out over the whole season." So, I mean, they did a really good job of giving you like 2 different parallel things at the same time, revealing it at the same time because Maeve's in cold storage with her head blown out. And I think they're going to do the same for Ed Harris. I think we're going to get William after he actually gets home and when he actually killed his daughter. And I think we're also going to get a fidelity testing William. And I think we're going to get him at the same time. And I think they're going to try to trick us to make us think it's the same person, and then they're going to do it again.
Plus, we might even get the William that we saw at the end of season 2 in terms of sometime way in the future, right?
I mean, I hope so. I would love to see more of that. I don't know if they're going to do that now. I think they might have planted that seed for down, but yeah. I'm not sure because they can't show him. I guess you're right because they can't show him too much being a host in that loop because he's in that loop in season 2 all the time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because that's a physical thing he went through, right? Or was that in the Forge?
By the way, I was going to ask you guys that and I'm going to go back and watch or research this, but they do make a reference about the fact that Dolores was researching individuals in the Forge,
right?
And so is that what Lee Sizemore in the Insight WestWorld simulation told Maeve that Dolores was researching people, or was that something that Bernard talked about? Oh no, it's Bernard, right? So Bernard remembered it, right? And that's the first time they mentioned that Dolores was researching the son of Insight.
Yeah, they Liam.
Yeah, but they didn't have that in season 2, right?
Right, I know that's an add-on. They just showed her looking at and taking the brain balls. We don't know exactly who she took, but it was at that point that she found Liam.
Yeah,
in there. So, maybe we'll get the flashback to what Liam did in WestWorld.
That's actually something they can always pull out of their back pocket, throwing people into that classic simulation.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that we didn't see that Bernard saw because they left a lot of time between the last thing we saw and
because when Stubbs was fighting everybody, we didn't see. We saw Charlotte, right? We saw Charlotte.
Did we? Yes. I know she's a big subject next week. Spoiler.
I thought we saw Charlotte, and we saw some other stuff.
Yeah, I thought
Charlotte shoots him, right?
Yeah, and I don't remember that from season 2.
She shot. Did she as Dolores know?
Because doesn't Bernard shoot Dolores?
Yes.
But then there was basically, and I probably should go back and compare this. That scene that we saw from Bernard's memory, it almost looked like they took Bernard and put him in Dolores' spot, and they took Charlotte and put her in Bernard's spot. The way that Bernard was shot in the Forge.
Right.
And I don't think that was part of the season 2 finale.
I don't remember it, no.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look.
So, I mean, it's interesting because they also showed one of his memories where they showed Dolores bringing Bernard back online in the real world. We'll call it the real world. And then they showed the opposite. They showed him bringing Dolores online in the real world. So I'm wondering if this whole thing sets up almost like a duality between Bernard and Dolores, that they might actually be like together one entity.
Well, I mean, they kind of played with that for the 2 seasons because in the first season he's Arnold bringing her online.
Yeah.
The second season she's bringing Bernard online.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, it's there. Maybe.
But it's kind of like if Bernard's memory is of Charlotte shooting him, and we saw Bernard shoot Dolores in the season 2 finale. Like, it's almost like the two events might be the same, but just written almost like if, okay, I'm going to use a technical term. If you have a web page that has a database, you could actually connect two different web pages to the same database and have the same content but different color, right? So it's almost like, it almost feels like, and I'll have to go back and see if those scenes are identical, because it might be a situation where they're actually, it could be that their cores are actually the same somewhere on the lowest level. Their kernels are the same, and what's layered on top of it is slightly different. It's almost like a Sixth Sense type moment in my mind.
I think I follow you, but I think I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll have to work it out. Maybe Jim understands it.
Yeah.
I think Jim's our only hope.
Maybe Jack can figure it out with Mike and Jay tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, I just kind of bouncing theories off the top of my head here. But I just because maybe Bernard is really doesn't want to stop Dolores. Maybe he wants to help Dolores. Maybe this is just a misdirection that I don't know.
Well, no, they keep setting up this thing with Maeve and Dolores, right? And so now it's really set up with Maeve and Dolores. But I mean, I think even when we're talking about it, I'm forgetting that Bernard is there. So if you guys think that at some point Maeve and Dolores are going to be on the same side, then where's Bernard in that fight? Because basically Dolores brought Bernard back online at the end of season 2 to say, you're here and we're going to be on the opposite sides of this fight. The only difference is humans would have never brought you back online, but I've brought you online to fight me. So maybe Maeve and Dolores will work together, but they're showing all these shots in the future of this big showdown with Maeve and Dolores. Where's Bernard in all this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this side, good versus evil, which is kind of weird because, at this point, saving the humans, I don't know how anyone can see that as good. Where does Bernard land on this if Maeve and Dolores join forces? And what, you know what I mean?
Well, I think they will join forces.
But then where's Bernard?
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
maybe Bernard is, maybe his ultimate goal is to, I don't know. He keeps saying he wants to save the humans and save the human race, but maybe he doesn't.
And then where does Caleb fit into it? And then where does William fit into it? And then where does Charlotte fit into it?
I don't know.
I mean, they're still laying out the pieces. I mean, first episode, they make a passing reference to Serac, and Serac is the co-founder of that company, right?
Right.
So even within that Google company, like there's some tension, right? Like it's like they're kind of two factions there, right? So I think they're still probably going to lay out more chess pieces.
Oh, sure.
So that, like, I'm not even going to speculate in terms of how these different, like, hosts line up.
That's no fun.
Yeah, no, you have to play because that's why we're here. So Jack has a crackpot theory for tomorrow.
Yeah, just help me out here. I'm at a loss. I mean, it's just this.
Okay, I'll give you a crackpot theory for tomorrow. I'll give it in the classic Jack description. It's like, you guys remember that scene where Maeve is about to break out, and seems to be like a rack of memory control units or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
See, there was one that was about 3 underneath Maeve's.
Okay,
that one belongs to XYZ. And I think XYZ is going to break out and is going to defeat them all. And that's my crackpot theory, and I'm sticking to it.
And for you to get the internet points you so richly deserve, it has to be the third one down. It cannot be the second one down.
Exactly.
Yeah. One down, you get no point.
But that's I'm
writing that down.
That's basically it. That's how most crackpot theories, Jack's crackpot theories start. They have this like paragraph preamble.
All week when I've had time to think about television during this crazy week, I've only thought about the line that Caleb's mother said to him. It's the only thing I've been thinking about. So to have a a kind of a break from that, my brain kind of was thankful, I think.
Well, actually, Mike actually boosted. I used the crackpot theory last on this podcast. I said that Caleb is actually a host and all this different stuff. And then Mike, I think if I can remember correctly, Mike said maybe he's Bernard or something like that. It was some kind of, and I went, wow. I go, well, yeah, that could be it. So maybe, I don't know. It was just I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but whatever he said made the crackpot theory better.
Hashtag third ball down, Jim.
Yeah.
Third ball down.
Third ball down.
I mean, it's, I guess, as we should know, early season, you can usually create the most fantastic crackpot theories, right?
You can't because you can just make it up.
There's the most blue oceans to swim in.
Okay, here's what I those big metal pylons in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were cool.
Yeah, when I first saw
cool.
that, I was like, wait, that can't be the island. That's just like they must go underground from there. And then I rewound and I saw, okay, behind those pylons in the water, there's actually the main island in the distance.
Could those be the 7 pillars that I saw in the background of that one picture that I keep talking about?
Oh, no.
Sure, let's go with it.
Yeah. Third ball down, 7th pylon to the left and straight on until morning.
By the way, who else was annoyed that he trimmed his beard?
Who trimmed his beard?
Bernard.
When did he trim it?
It was all tight. At the end of last episode, it was big and bushy.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah.
Ethan, I would have expected you to notice that.
A lot of time on the boat, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, long boat ride.
He's like, I got to clean this up.
The big bushy beard was awesome. I mean, it really fit with that fight scene where he beats up those 2 guys in the meat packing factory.
Stubbs might not have recognized him with the big bushy beard.
That's right. And that was also the thing is, like, why does he need a bodyguard? He could take care of himself.
I think he wanted to get back in the game. Stubbs was so, and here, okay, so explain this to me. Riddle me this, Batman. Yeah. If Stubbs is supposed to take care of every host in the park, aren't there still hosts in the park? Like, I was mildly confused by that. Was the host he was supposed to take care of only Bernard?
Well, that's what he was reprogrammed for, right?
Okay.
I mean, he said, I think he said specifically, like, I think he was, or maybe we're reading between the lines that, and I think this is what Jack said, that his main directive was to take care of Bernard.
Okay.
Now, do we think that maybe because Bernard is like Chuck Norris now, so, but maybe he's not there maybe to protect Bernard from Maeve and Dolores, right?
Right.
Give him extra help.
Definitely give him extra help. I like how he wasn't to overcome good or to be good at all costs or to help children at all costs, but it was to protect Bernard at all costs.
Yeah,
Bernard only. So there's going to be violence. Stubbs is going to be part of it.
There will be blood.
There will be blood. We will drink all the milkshakes.
That's right. But I did like how when they reactivate Stubbs, or he actually reactivates himself, right? Because he's just kind of there, and then he comes back online. Maybe because he's in proximity to Bernard. Didn't
Bernard fix him by stealing parts of lesser Bernards?
Yeah, but he comes online even before he touches him.
Now, couldn't Bernard have gone and checked himself in a room where it's not a glass room? That way, when people are walking by, they don't see him.
Probably, but
that's like the major plot hole of the whole thing.
They need it to create, but this is the problem with Stubbs. You have to keep creating scenes for him.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, that's how the only way the character is going to work. Otherwise,
if I'm Stubbs, I would have said, "Look, dude, if you want me to protect you, let's go to a place where there's 4 walls."
Come on. Otherwise, he's just another Teddy,
Well, of course, Dan and Dave didn't see him. They're oblivious.
Yeah, that's true.
Game of Thrones guys.
Yeah,
they wouldn't see him.
When Stubbs comes back online, actually, now that I think about it, it makes sense. He basically self-destructed himself in the room with all the extra Bernards, because there were no more active Bernards to protect, right?
Right. Good point.
So that was kind of like the final command in his code. But when he comes back online and he's like angry and he's like, "Look, man, I wasn't programmed as sophisticated as you guys."
Exactly.
Give him one job, right? And so it's funny because it's like that might be like the trigger for his awakening there, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you think Bernard could have really said, "Hey, man, why don't you come with me and help?" After he basically said, "Okay, you're going to leave. I'm going to kill myself," and he said, "You just had to ask." Do you think if Bernard said, "Hey, you want to come with me?" He would have been like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean that was like kind of the tail end of the story arc in the sense the showing that he's become aware, right?
So Bernard never knew Stubbs was a host, right?
I guess not. I mean, Bernard had trouble figuring himself out for 2 seasons.
That's true.
So,
I thought most hosts knew. I thought they all knew each other.
Maybe.
Good question.
Yeah. Mesh web.
We'll call it season 2 lazy writing.
It's back again.
Yeah. But okay, so the guy who plays Serac, I've seen him in passing a few other things, and my one regret is that, I mean, the guy speaks English without an accent now, but he's originally French. I mean, it would have been like, really would have liked when he turns Maeve off for him to do like one of these like, no, not so fast. Right? We would give him a little bit more of a cartoonish feel to it. But the things that he was saying, by the way, at the beginning, and I actually took notes on this because the season is doing a pretty good job of the critique of technology, and he talks about my business is the future, our work is to create it, and it really does echo like the whole strain of techno utopia, meaning that like technological advancement can only be good for society, right? That's kind of like he's the avatar for that. And I guess it's like he goes through that long spiel only to say we were on the right track until Dolores came along. So, but it shows that like that character itself, he's probably just unaware. Like he just doesn't have any like self-realization in terms of what his work has actually done to society, right?
Right.
So it is an interesting offset to Caleb last week, right?
Sure,
I would think, yeah.
And it basically they cast him really well. I mean, half the guys that are Silicon Valley CEOs look like this guy. I mean, I guess they're probably, in many ways they're like, let's look for a guy who kind of sounds. Let's get a guy who kind of sounds and looks like a thinner version of Elon Musk.
Yeah, because I thought they all looked like the guys from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, like that's if you're going for the Zuckerberg type, right?
I tried to watch his Q&A with the guy this week, and I couldn't make it through 2 seconds of his voice. Zuckerberg.
Oh, Zuckerberg, yeah, he's tough to listen to. He's got weird mannerisms.
Yeah, totally. Well, he found out he was on the right track until Dolores showed up.
Yeah.
So
he was being prevented from writing the proper history, right?
Right.
Yeah, totally.
So,
but guys like that usually are, aren't they kind of on the same scale with the psychological tests with sociopaths and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think most CEOs are sociopaths. I would say the tech CEOs fall into this weird category where they just paint themselves almost as like they view themselves almost like as saviors of society, right? You could see like his entire mannerism was like so calm and gentle, right? Like laid back, right? And then, once Maeve tried to kill him, he's like, I planned for that as well. Like you could see that, like. But it's going to take.
To be fair, I knew she was going to try and kill him.
Yeah.
So if I do that,
he knew she was going to try to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder, and you could tell, like, he didn't freeze her. Like she was still conscious when he hit the button.
Right. She almost looked like she had tears in her eyes.
Yeah, because she was like, "Oh, it's been taken. Her freedom has been taken away again."
Right.
So I wonder how he's going to get her on his side. Like not on his side, but
Do you think he can?
I don't know if he does that thing where he's like offers her freedom in exchange for killing, Dolores or something cheesy like that, which I don't think they're going to do.
I hope they don't do that, but I don't think she could trust him anyway.
Of course not.
No.
He might as well have been twirling his mustache. He might as well have said that thing Eckhart wanted him to say.
No.
Exactly.
But he probably knows like her pretty well from the data that he's collected in the simulation.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he will know like what her motivations are.
Listen how lazily they wrote the simulation. They get Lee Sizemore. He's from England, so they put a small picture of Winston Churchill as the only thing behind on his desk. He's a writer, so they don't put William Shakespeare or a picture of Stephen King or something. It's just like he's British. There's Winston Churchill. That's all you need to know about him.
Maybe he's a Winston Churchill fan. You don't know.
Well, we all are, aren't we?
Sometimes.
Wow.
Anything else that we have to talk about? We didn't talk about in this episode.
No, I mean I think this horse has been beaten to death.
Yeah,
a lot.
I think we're all in agreement that this was the episode that let I won't pronounce her name, the actress that plays
Thandie Newton.
Let her show her chops.
When you first got on with us, Eckhart, and you texted like, "Okay, we can all agree this is going to be the short episode, right?" I was like, "No, there's plenty to talk about." I'm wrong. You're right.
100%. 40 minutes is still a long time.
It's still a long time, especially when there's it. But overall we thought it was a great episode. We enjoyed it.
In the way of theorizing, obviously it's not, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching it.
I
mean, it's better than most of the episodes of season 2.
Plus, it is setting up the rest of season 3.
Right.
So it did a great job of doing that.
Major chess piecement placing, and it was really good in that way. So yeah,
I think the way to probably for us to evaluate these episodes is if we took each episode standalone, almost like as like a mini movie, like how would that feel, or as almost like an episode of a movie. And I was like, yeah, this is entertaining. Like, the music selection was really good for the simulation within the simulation.
Yeah, I only thing with a movie, you kind of want an ending. This didn't really have.
Oh,
well, it's an
open ending.
It's also like a reunion episode, which is always good too. Like in The Leftovers, they had that second to last episode in season 3 where Patty came back and Meg came back and back, and this one Stubbs came back, Lee Sizemore came back for a little while,
and Ettore.
You saw Felix, you saw Hector, you saw Sylvester, who has the coolest regular name ever. His name is Ptolemy Skulkum. And I just remembered that because I'm weird. And he was in The Wire season 5. Not that matters. But it's a reunion episode, and those are always a little fun. But yeah, I think all those people that we thought were dead from season 2 we're not going to see again. We're probably not going to see again.
Mm-hmm.
No.
This was their chance to bring them back for a little bit.
I mean, this probably was kind of a filler episode, but as far as filler episodes goes, it was good.
Well, it was filler, but it did have some purpose to it. Because a lot of times a true filler episode is just like, okay, we really got nothing this week. Let's just, Plus, it advanced the story, which is always good.
And they did leave a dangling thread last season about Maeve and how she was going to get out. And they told that story.
Right.
She's out. And we still don't know if maybe she's it's really unclear if she's one of the brain balls Dolores took still. I think we're going to find out more about that in the future. I know she's got third balls hanging down.
By the way, Jack, I want you to refer to the WestWorld that we, the real WestWorld that we see where they're, just selling off the parts. Call it like that, like a Halloween pop-up store the day after Halloween.
Oh, where everything's like 70% off.
Exactly. That's basically what
off.
it is, right? You could see like the only thing that was left were like those the Game of Thrones puppets, right?
Oh my God.
Why were the simulations running if they were shutting it down? Why was the king and queen sitting there with the lute player?
See, here's the thing. I'm not sure the park's even open in the real world, right?
No, I don't think it is.
Like we have to go back to look at that boardroom meeting from last week.
Charlotte said she wanted to keep it open.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it would take time to get it going again.
But I mean, it does sound like from when Stubbs was giving like some background info to Bernard that he was around for a bit before he shot himself in the throat, right?
Right.
So because he was like updating him on like what's going on there, right?
Yeah, he was. Well, they got to clean all the blood off the floor and stuff. I mean, still got stains and.
Well, the first thing that threw me really was that made me think something was off. What was with Maeve? So it didn't make sense. Was like she's so surprised to see like the dead body of Hector just laying there, and why is she surprised by any of that?
Right, and then also he called her Isabella. Right.
Yeah.
Great episode, Isabella. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Girl.
Anyway,
that's it.
Well, I think we've done enough here.
Yep.
Can't wait to be back here next week to figure out what's going on.
Yep. We're moving back to Future World, right?
Yeah, back to Future World, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Okay. All right, let's get into it for a second since we got extra time. Since you've made it clear we have extra time. So I did a little. I promised myself I wasn't going to go on Reddit, but I went on Reddit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
okay.
So, and I don't know. I don't remember if you guys brought this up in the other podcast or not. So Dolores is in. She is the William going into Future World. Is the big theory going around. Like, I know you guys already said the whole thing's a simulation, but we're following her now going into another park. Does that make sense?
I could see how they could say that because I was even thinking about this in between episodes, the way that she has those powers in terms of controlling the motorcycles and stuff like that, hacking into the network, which were so similar to the way that the hosts had powers, the guests had powers in original WestWorld, right?
Right.
So that that's what made me think that what she's in right now is another park where she has guest-like power. So I could see how they could then go one step further and say, hey, that's actually William.
And the other thing is they were doing shot comparisons of Dolores waking up in that pilot episode the 3 times, and they're showing Eric Paul wake up the 3 times.
Right.
And, in this episode, and if that happens, and if he's just a guy in a loop, I'm out.
Wait, so you're saying the Reddit theory is that Dolores is William is Dolores, or William is Caleb?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, William doesn't look like Dolores. There's a big difference.
That's true.
I don't know if you cut off Dolores' hair real short.
She's a good actress. She can pull it off.
Yeah. So wait, sorry. Explain the Reddit theory again.
Okay, not that she is William, but she is the William's role.
She's playing the part of William.
Yeah.
She is that character's role that we're seeing. So we saw William go into WestWorld.
Right.
We're now watching Dolores go into Future World.
Okay.
And so it's from her point of view. It's we're seeing her, and Future World is
Season 1 was William going to WestWorld. Season 3 is Dolores going into Future World.
And you're saying that basically Caleb is like living the same day in his life over and over and over with slightly different permutations.
Until he runs into Dolores.
So it was Groundhog Day for Caleb until he met Dolores.
Yes, I think. I don't know. I'm never going on Reddit ever again after this.
Right.
It's usually the best approach to do.
So I guess the question then is, where does that leave Chibs?
I didn't watch every one, though.
She was thorough.
I just watched a movie that I saw him in the other day. It was he was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for a second.
By the way, Jack, since you're the most experienced sci-fi watcher of us all, I'm assuming this all started with Star Trek, right? That you had to throw in a bunch of token Scottish actors into like a sci-fi show, right?
Oh, because of Scotty, right?
Oh, Scotty, and then of course in Lost we got Desmond, right?
Desmond, yeah.
And then of course season 2 they tried to up their ratings by throwing a bunch of random Scottish guys, James Delos, and then that guy with the handlebar mustache who showed
that's
up
true.
for 2 episodes, and then now we've got Chibs.
And we're gonna see, I guess, more of him next week, maybe.
Yeah, we were wondering if whose ball she put into his head, right?
Into Charlotte's head?
Into Chib's head, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, the preview for next episode makes it seem like she put Teddy's ball into Charlotte's head, right?
Yeah, I didn't even watch the previews.
Okay.
I just skipped
It
through it.
did not seem like that to me.
All right. But I'm gonna say that one of those either the what's her name, either Clementine or the other blonde woman who was like really good at killing people is in Chibs now.
Oh, okay, yeah. She had the tattoo, right?
Yeah, the one that the seductress.
Armistice.
Right.
No, not Armistice.
No?
The one that blew up the cradle.
Elon
that blew,
X.
What?
I don't know her name.
What's her name? What?
Elon Musk's ex-wife.
Is
Toulouse,
that who,
something really in real life is her name? Toulouse?
I don't know, but she was one of the people that was one of the main hosts that was in Dolores's posse in season 2.
Yeah,
I think she was like the sharpshooter.
She was a hostess that originally welcomed William into WestWorld.
Yeah, and she was also the hostess that like seduced Morgan into like in the real world.
Yeah, that was I had a lot of problems with that scene.
Yeah. So I think that, and she was incredibly like vicious in terms of bloodthirsty. Like she was actually, if I remember in season 1, like she started off as being like one of the people that worked in Maeve's establishment, and then she ended up, becoming basically one of the outlaws.
Like in Wyatt's crew, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
So I have a feeling that's who they put into Chibs.
I don't think so. I don't know. I just don't think they put anyone besides those 5, unless one of them is Liam, of course, which would be really annoying. That one of the 5 balls she got out of the park was Liam. That would make me very upset.
Wait, Liam in the park? Wait, who's Liam?
Liam is the insight guy, and they said in this episode that's one of the people she was looking into,
right?
In the forge,
right?
So if she made a bunch of brain,
he was a guest though, right?
But they could still make brain balls of guests because they were.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I see where you're going.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they do that, that's really annoying because you think it's either going to be Maeve or Bernard or someone we kind of care about, not this guy.
But I will say this: like, I respect the writing team for like saying, okay, they took out 5 balls, right? And then they say, okay, like in the writing room, it's like, okay, we've got about 6 months to 9 months to figure out what we're going to do with this, right?
Yeah.
So we don't even we'll start writing season 3, and then we'll figure out after the fact, like when we got the bigger storyline figured out, who we're going to assign to those balls, right?
Yeah.
They strongly leaned, from watching the preview, they strongly leaned into Charlotte being Bernard's brain ball.
Because
I mean, I don't want to ruin anything. People didn't watch preview. She tucks in Charlie at some point.
Yeah, I saw that too, and that's his son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I gotta go back and watch the previews.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's actually going to come next episode, I think.
Yeah, I think that's next episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange if you think about it, because I thought, let's unpack that a bit. I thought Charlie must have died decades ago.
Maybe it's a memory they give her a cornerstone.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, he did die.
Yeah.
Because it's for him to exist in the real time wouldn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like there's some when Bernard leaves the house at the end of season 2, I've mentioned this before, there's the Joker instruments from Batman on the table. There's a saw and a bloody saw and a bloody scalpel.
Right.
So she obviously did some work to get herself into Dolores did some work to get herself into a Dolores body. And so did some work to get whatever ball into Charlotte's body.
Right.
Which was already there. So I think we're going to see that next week.
Okay.
We're going to see that work. Yeah.
I wish it was next week already.
Yeah.
Everybody in America, everybody in the entire world wishes it was next week already.
Yep.
It's almost it's almost like I hate. Sometimes I love streaming and sometimes I hate it, but it's almost like God, I wish this was on Netflix. Just bang, 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 bang.
No, you need that week time to think about.
Yeah, I know, but it's just I want to know what's going on. But anyway,
they could ruin The Expanse this year with that nonsense.
Because that whole reference to the Forge and Dolores checking up, William's record and who else did she check for there is probably one of the biggest nuggets of the entire episode. And It was a 3-second thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know who loves the Forge? Data. Get it? Data loves the Forge.
Bada bing.
The end of our show, donk.
On that note, good job, guys. We'll be back next week. If you like what we're doing, subscribe, thumbs up, tell a friend. Thumbs up for great. If you don't like what we're doing, you don't have to give us a thumbs down. I mean, you can. It's America, but you could tell us what you didn't like about it.
Jay.
We're okay with it. We're big boys. We can handle it. But anyway, we like the comment section. Jim, thanks for joining us in the chat. If you're in the chat, if you're just sitting there listening to us, that's fine too. But anyway, anything else you guys got?
I think we're done.
All right. Great job, guys. And we'll be back next week. Same time, same channel.
Bye.
Bye.